Hey guys, and I want to welcome you all back to another Dragon Ball Legends video. So for today's video, we're going to have a DB Legends team building beginner's guide. So a lot of you guys are veterans on my channel, you know how to build your teams, but for anybody that doesn't or just wants some advice or to use some of my philosophies that I use when I build my own teams for the videos that you guys oftentimes watch, or if you're a new player because we are approaching the 5th year anniversary, I'm sure there are a lot of new players coming. Whatever the case is, I want to have an all-encompassing guide for you guys to enjoy. So I hope that you do enjoy today's video. Today's video like goal is 1,000. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button so you don't miss anything we upload here on the channel. Before we jump in, I do have a quick word from today's video sponsor. Raid Shadow Legends is getting its own limited animated series called Raid Call of the Arbiter. Call of the Arbiter is set in the dark fantasy world of Teleria and is designed to give fans more backstory, lore, and glimpses into the wider Raid universe. This limited series has 10 animated episodes around 5 minutes each, so there will be so much for you to look forward to. And as a matter of fact, episode 1 is available to watch right now. And new episodes will release every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until July 20th. In episode 1 titled Galek, the animators use some of the most gorgeous animation you will ever see, and Jesper Kid absolutely slays the musical score. And for me, personally, it was just so cool to learn more about Raid's notorious orcs and their relationship with the human race. Raid Shadow Legends is celebrating by adding a bunch of Call of the Arbiter related content, including character bios, new champions featured in the show itself, like Galek, Aethel, Kale, and Elhain, to fan favorites like Death Knight, Still of the Drakes, and more. This launch will offer a ton of cool stuff for Raid fans, new and old. And honestly, this is the best time to get started with Raid if you haven't done so before. I know a lot of times people are kind of skeptical. They're like, oh, should I jump into that game that always has all of these promotions and, you know, is always getting memed? And trust me, yes, Raid is for you. Now is the perfect time to hop in. And everyone that plays will get the chance to get Artak, one of the 5 new characters from the show, as a playable legendary champion for F-R-E-E. You heard me right, Frey. No, free, excuse me. Kind of like my name. That's right. You'll get him for free just by logging into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. So again, what are you waiting for? Like I said, now is the perfect time to get started with Raid Shadow Legends. Be sure to use my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to get a free starter pack with this amazing in-game loot, featuring the Epic Knight Errant, 200,000 silver, 4 energy refills, 1 epic skill tome, and a 1-day XP booster. So don't wait, get started today. I'll see all of you in Raid Shadow Legends, and stay tuned for more episodes of Call of the Arbiter. Alright guys, so this is going to be a jam-packed video with a lot of stuff. So if you need me to go faster, please change the speed to 1.25 times speed on your YouTube video player. Or if you need me to go slower, obviously you can do the opposite as well. So to truly understand team building in this game, the first and most important thing you need to understand are tags and the way that they relate to the rest of the game. So let's go ahead and open up Shallot, who is, we'll go back to Shallot actually, because he has his own different tag thing going on because he has different outfits. So here's a look at Kid Buu. If we scroll all the way down, and you can do this on any character, we see character tags. Character tags are central and the most important thing you need to understand in the game when it comes to team building, and knowing character tags is also very important when it comes to certain team compositions and having certain characters either do more damage or various other effects, sometimes in their own kits and their passive effects that they have. Like this guy has a freaking paragraph here. Some characters have, oh, do bonus damage against God key characters or whatever, you know, they will have different things there. So you need to understand which tags characters have. It's a very simple and easy thing to understand though. So as you see, those are the tags he has. If you want to see what's in said tags, you can click them and you can sort them out, etc., and it'll show you what you're looking for. But these are all the characters that have the quote-unquote powerful opponent tag that I own and don't own. And also episode just basically denotes the part of the story that the character is from. Obviously Kid Buu is from the Majin Buu saga, and if a character is from a movie, they will have sagas from the movies. Quick note on that, it will not tell you which movie they're from because it doesn't matter in the context of the game. All movie characters are under one umbrella and thus will have synergy if a Z ability offers or an effect requires Sagas from the movie's characters. There is an umbrella for all those characters, but other characters, if it calls for a specific episode, like Saiyan Saga or whatever, obviously Majin Buu is not meeting that criteria, and that's just how it goes. Now, that is how the character tags in episodes look. The reason why that's important is because we have Z abilities. What are Z abilities? These are varying effects that change based on the number of limit breaks. As you see, when I get my Buu to 7 red stars here, or 7 plus, we will get access to an enhanced version of this Z ability. What enhances is the numbers. They go from 3 to 5 on the special move damage, 38 to 42. You can see that happening there. Quick note on this. Also, sometimes when you pull characters, you will have other things happen. It won't just be the numbers changing. Maybe in this case, he's offering, you know, at the bottom it says strike attack and defense. Maybe he'll add in blast attack as well. Or maybe they'll add in an extra stat overall. So having more limit breaks on characters, more stars, basically, by the way, just pretty much means summon more on characters, which is this game's version of quote-unquote pay to win. Anyway, you can, there are free characters, but obviously it's mainly a summon thing. But anyway, having more limit breaks on characters means enhanced Z abilities, and that's just how it goes. So you'll get either added tags in. Right here it says regen, and then there's a bonus for powerful opponent as well. Well, what if I got him at a max limit break? In this case, it's not happening, but for example, they could add in Majin Buu Saga as well, so they would actually get these bonuses too, where they otherwise wouldn't. If that makes sense to you, again, basically, long story short, as you summon more copies of characters, the Z ability changes, and there are varying numbers of changes. It can enhance the effects that are there based on the percentages, the percentage going up. They can add other effects there. Instead of just strike attack, for example, they can add strike defense as well. They can add blast attack or blast defense. If something was missing initially, they'll add it in as the character gets more limit breaks, so obviously you get more cumulative stats, and you're enhancing a stat that just wasn't getting enhanced at all. They will also sometimes even apply to episodes, like I mentioned, sagas from the movies or Majin Buu Saga, and very rarely, we'll talk about this too, they will apply to character elements. So Majin Buu is a yellow character. You see the chart in the bottom left corner. There are character Z abilities that apply to elements as well. So this is the most important thing, as you can see, because this is where you're getting all your power from. You can't really just throw a team together willy-nilly and say, okay, well, what do we have? Let's take a look at what this thrown together team actually has. We're not going to worry about Shallot yet. We'll get back to him. This Trunks has 2 Z abilities. That's not very good. He's only getting the one from Kefla and his own, and that's only because I believe they're both free characters, so they both have the event exclusive tag, and that's it. Otherwise, they don't have any bleed through. There is no Dragon Ball Super exclusive tag to give them synergy. They just don't have it because they're not a part of the same groups, right? Majin Buu here, he doesn't have anything but his own. So you can't really do that and expect that to get you very far. You need to have character synergy. Now, if we look at 17 and 18, because obviously they have synergy on multiple levels, I imagine they'll have multiple Z abilities. Yeah, so they have 3. So they have each other's, and they have one from Kefla too, because they are Universe Rep, which is from the Tournament of Power, basically. So that's the version of Tournament of Power characters. Again, that's why Trunks also doesn't have that. And we have Kefla, who has a ton, because Kefla also winds up being a Saiyan, so she's getting Shallots naturally, she's getting 17, 18, and then she's getting the free one from the Trunks that we talked about earlier. She's got 5, so she wound up making out like a bandit with this thrown together team. Next, when it comes to Z abilities, I talked about the importance of them. You need to understand the leader slot. That's where Shallot is. That's why it says leader there. That slot exclusively is for your leader character. What does the leader slot mean? Let's put Hero Krillin there. Naturally, Hero Krillin doesn't really have any synergy. Also, by the way, when you're building a team, if you want to just see if they have synergy quickly, watch what's going to happen to Kefla here when I put Krillin in. She'll do the little flash. There's also supposed to be a little scatter there. I don't know if they do it anymore, but there used to be a little scatter icon there. Anyway, that means that Krillin is offering his Z ability, or he has some sort of synergy with Kefla in Z abilities, or we'll get to Zenkai's in a minute. But anyway, Krillin is in the leader slot. He doesn't have any synergy with anybody else on this team, for the record. He only has synergy with Kefla because he's giving his own Z ability, which is a purple exclusive. Remember I mentioned they will offer him 2 colors. Purple exclusive blast defense. Not very good, very underwhelming, etc. But nonetheless, as you see, a bunch of other ones are listed here. This means, as you see in red, select the leader as a battle member and this effect will activate, even if this character does not meet the conditions. So the leader slot is the one slot on your team that you have flexibility. This slot if you put a character that has no synergy like Krillin in this slot and you take them into your battle, you have to take them in the battle, they will do two things. They will get all of the ones that they don't meet the conditions for, which is all these, and then their one, let's look at this. Let's look at Trunks. Trunks then picks up the Z ability that Krillin is offering, despite being a blue character, while Krillin is clearly exclusively calling for a purple character. So that is how the leader slot works. Again, needs to be in battle. Krillin will always need to be in the battle, but he will offer that Z ability. So you can imagine how flexible that slot is overall and the way that you can handle that slot. Next, I want to talk about Zenkai and Ultra abilities. These are other abilities that are things that you need to consider when you're building teams too. And we will get to the actual team constructions in a minute, so bear with me. Like I said, there's a lot of information. Ultra rarity characters that have the Ultra in the top left corner. There are 4 different rarities. There's Hero, Extreme, Sparking, and there's Ultra. Within those, there are some subsections. We're expecting an Ultra that's a legendary finish. There are Sparkings that are legendary finish characters too. So yeah, there's just some subsections, but there's mainly 4. Ultra characters have an Ultra ability, and this does hamper team construction. And this was probably designed to keep players from running a team full of just Ultras. So if this character is the leader, so you would need to put Kid Buu in the leader slot to trigger this. So there's that. Applies the following effects itself when the battle starts. He gets 30% more damage and enhances his key recovery by 30%. If he's not your leader, applies the following effects itself per tag, regeneration, battle / support member when the battle starts. Up to 3 support members will be counted. So basically, the way this reads is that if he is your leader, he will get 30% more damage. That's very, very nice. You want that. However, on my team, he's not in the leader slot. So what does that mean? It means that he's getting 5% per support and battle member when the battle starts. So what is a support / battle member? Battle members are the 3 characters that you take in the battle with you. Well, I guess you could technically take 1 or 2 if you want to. But anyway, they're the characters that you take in the battle with you, right? That's how that is. If anything ever calls for a battle member or needs to be in the battle, it's called a battle member, and they're the characters that you choose on your character select screen right before the battle begins. Support members are the 3 that you don't. Now, that is actually really relevant because we'll bring this up when we get to building actual teams, but one of the philosophies that people abide by is only using 3 characters probably ever, and that means that the last 3 characters are always just going to be there to offer their Z abilities, because you may not know this or understand it because I didn't really fully explain it, but Z abilities are always applied. If that wasn't clear, they are always applied from all 6 characters if it's available to them. If they meet the criteria, the conditions, the other characters don't have to be in the battle. Their ability is always active on the character, again, if they meet the condition that you do take in the battle. So anyway, in my current team setup with that Ultra ability, he's only getting that buff for himself. So he's very watered down. He's only getting 5% strike, assuming that he enters the battle, obviously. He's getting 5% damage and 5% key recovery. And if I were to put him in the leader slot, however, he would then get all of it because that's the way his ability works. So you can understand why that Ultra ability is very powerful. You want to keep it in mind when building teams. Now, let's talk about Zenkai abilities. What are Zenkais? Zenkais are characters that have been revisited. This was a character that was launched when the game launched. Okay, that's how old this Goku is. They go back and they revisit a character at random and they give them updated stats, updated effects. That doesn't mean they're great characters because this guy is not good at all. But they'll update the character to the best of their ability, I guess. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on it too much, but they update the character. They add in a couple of other passives because every other character will only have 2 different unique abilities, but they add in 2 more for Zenkai characters. And they also add in the Zenkai ability. Zenkai ability, you should understand this perfectly by what we've explained so far. It says it increases the following statuses of characters that are both Red and Saiyan. Emphasis on both, because a lot of times people ask me, oh wait, if I ran some certain character that meets one of these 2 criteria, are they still going to get it? No, they have to be a Red Saiyan. Like this Goku is a Red Element Saiyan character, and they get a lot of stat increases, 40 and 35 respectively to those numbers. That is a very, very powerful ability. Now, I want to show you what people do for characters that are not very good that have Z ability, or excuse me, Zenkai abilities, what people do when it comes to building a team. So here are all the red Zenkais. We're just going to proceed with this. We're going to leave Kid Buu. We're going to throw Goku in the team. Again, like I mentioned, not great character. Let's put Vegeta in. Vegeta is actually a really solid character. So what happens with the Zenkai ability? First and foremost, Vegeta has his own. He's offering it to red Vegeta Clan characters. Again, Vegeta Clan is a tag, and Vegeta's red, so he does pick it up himself. And if we look at the details for the party, and we scroll over to Vegeta, he's getting the Z ability from Kid Buu, because Kid Buu's in the leader. And we look at the Zenkai ability section, Goku's is being applied to Vegeta. Again, of note, Kid Buu is not getting any Zenkai abilities on this current setup. You would need a yellow regeneration Zenkai Awoken character that offers it to yellow regen or yellow power for opponents, something that Kid Buu fits into. Despite being in the leader slot, you will not get Zenkai abilities. You will get Z abilities, but you will not get Zenkai abilities. Kid Buu will not get these. Okay, so Vegeta does get both of these. So a lot of times people will build teams and say that freaking Kale is my third. We don't care about Goku. People will build teams and they'll throw 3 characters out there, and Kale would also get this Zenkai ability because, again, she's another Red Saiyan. And then Goku wouldn't get any play, but he would still be giving them 40% stat increases, which is a very massive amount, right? So that's one thing that a lot of people do with Zenkai abilities. Even if the character isn't great, their ability is still very relevant, and you can put an actual good character there. Like, okay, I've already mentioned it. Let's look for a yellow character that can Zenkai buff Kid Buu. That's what we call that. We call that Zenkai buffing. And let's give Kid Buu one. You should have one. And yeah, so now Kid Buu is one of the best characters in the game, is getting 40% stats. That's one thing that people like to do to really make their stronger characters better. So we've now, at this point, explained Z abilities, tags, episodes, Zenkai abilities, and Ultra abilities, along with the leader slot. The next few things we're going to talk about are going to be as follows. We're going to discuss equips really briefly, because equips are just a whole other thing. We're going to discuss those briefly. We're going to talk about character synergies and stuff like that, and my philosophies with whether I like to have support or things like that. And we'll go ahead and finish off the video by showing you guys some different examples of teams. If you made it this far, thank you for your support. I really, really appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up and that subscribe, and let's go ahead and move on to the next portion. So equips, if you ever want to find a certain equip that you just don't know, or for the record, if you never know which equips to put on a character, you can hit this recommended button. And this doesn't automatically give you the best ones, because it's pretty subjective which ones are the best ones, but they do have a makeshift team. But what they do here is that they show you the characters in this setting, which I was going to get to this in a minute, but we'll kind of get back to it. But they show you in this screen the characters that are recommended based on what a lot of the players are using. And they'll also show you on this screen equips that are recommended based on what a lot of players are using. Maybe you don't have one of these, maybe you like a different one, but if there's one that's here and you need to find it, you can hit find and it'll take you to where you can find it, right? So anyway, if we were to equip on this character, one thing you need to know about equips is that it doesn't matter where they're put. I always bring this up because people always are confused by this. So right here, very short and sweet, it has slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. These effects are active no matter where you place this. You get all 3 of these effects, or all the effects you see on the screen, no matter what you do with it. You can put that Kid Buu in equip back here, and it doesn't matter. You can put any of this stuff anywhere, and you'll get all the effects on all the equips at all the times. As long as it's equipped to the character, you will get all of it, right? I like to point that out because people don't really understand that. Now, next, when it comes to equips, you are sometimes going to come across equips that also ask you for certain conditions. For example, this equip is going to have a condition where they get extra strike damage versus Saiyan tag characters. This equip is going to say you get extra blast damage per tag regen battle member. These types of equips are okay, so this one I wouldn't put on Kid Buu. Again, this is more equip-based philosophy. I wouldn't put this on Kid Buu because he's a melee character. He does not need this. This doesn't do as much for him as it would for a character that was built around using blast darts, which Kid Buu is not. Anyway, actually Kid Buu is a defense type, but he's not. Anyway, moving on. So I wouldn't put this on him, but nonetheless, it is calling for a specific tag. So if you really want to proc this, say you give it to Kid Buu, you need to make sure you're running a full regeneration tag team. And again, if you're looking for a certain tag, you can come here, as I've shown already, and search for a certain tag and pull it up on this screen. So here's regeneration, and I could put them with, we have the Zenkai filters on, we could put them with whoever and do whatever just to get the criteria for that. All right, so let's talk about my overall philosophies. So when I run teams, I like to have very well-rounded teams. So as you guys see, we're going to stick with Kid Buu for now. As you guys see, we do have Kid Buu, who's a yellow element. Now, obviously, some characters are going to have the ability to go type neutral and not worry about the color wheel in the bottom corner, and some characters will just hit so hard or whatever that they can kind of bypass that. Not really, but they just do so much damage that it doesn't matter. But again, the most important thing is there are going to be characters that have the ability to just go neutral versus the element that they're weak against. So Kid Buu is weak against reds. Spoiler, he's not one of those characters that can bypass it, but he will do a lot of damage. But anyway, he's weak against reds, so you want to have somebody that can cover his back. Zamasu. This is also why Zamasu was one of the recommended characters on this list, because if you are looking for a blue character for the match, Zamasu is currently the best blue character to throw alongside him. Next, the rest of this list is just guys being really annoying, running triple ultra teams that they're just being absolute scums. What they're doing with this recommended list is they're putting Kid Buu in the leader slot and running a full God Key tag team. And they're missing out on some of those ultra abilities, but they don't care because those three ultras together is so oppressively strong. You just pray you never run into it. Okay. Okay. So anyway, you also can cover for Zamasu with a purple character. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but you can also cover for Zamasu with a purple character, and this is great color synergy. So anytime Kid Buu gets matched up with the red, you can throw a blue in, and if they throw their green in, you can throw in the purple, and then obviously you go from there. So that is what I like to have for all of my teams, and this applies to any, base that you start with. Let's say we start with let's say we start with a red. Next up will be a blue, so we want to have a green character on our team. And if they have a strong purple to counter that, we want to throw a yellow in. So on and so forth. That's how that works. So the three characters that you are going to be taking into the battle, you really want to make sure that you have them covered and go from there. Also, I really like to have certain effects present on my team. So there are very powerful effects that a lot of characters have, and there are some that they just don't have. But one of the ones I really like to have is either Endurance or Revive. If you're a new player, these are all the characters that have the Endurance effect. What this means is when your character's life hits 0, they actually get a little bit more. They get to stay in the match a little bit longer, a second wind, if you will. They are able to endure the death and be able to survive. So that means that Kid Buu is a very tanky character, and I like to have that effect on my team if possible. There are other effects that a lot of characters have. I can't really get too deep into some of the disruption effects, but the characters will have things like, making enemies' cards more expensive, sealing the enemy's card slots. They'll also do stuff like making the opponent unable to switch. They will nullify endurance, the one we talked about. They will reduce sub count. They will do a ton of different things. They'll restore their own vanish gauge. They are able to do, some characters are able to do a lot of stuff, right? But above all that, I like to also have characters that have some of those effects, for the record, you want to have, right? Obviously. But I also really like to have characters that can offer support effects. Support effects are one way, especially if you are a free player or a new player that's just building out your account. Support effects are a way to kind of cheese some of these team constructions, right? So this guy is offering support when he switches to standby. He's giving allies extra damage, more key, and then there's some disruption effects as well. So he's a really good character to run on a team like this. Next, I didn't really talk about this in the beginning, but you really want to discern which character you're building your team around in the first place. I should have talked about this earlier. We've just been using Kid Buu as a proxy, or Shallot earlier, but you need to know which character you're building your team around. The character you're building your team around is the most important thing when it comes to building your team, aside from tags and all that stuff, obviously. But there are weaknesses in some of these characters that need to be covered up, basically. Aside from elements, the lack of having certain effects in their kits is one thing that you need to also consider. So that's on a per character basis. I can't really delve too deep into that. It's up to you to really look at the characters and see what they do and don't do, and see where you need to really match up some of the weaknesses for characters. So next, go ahead and from here just kind of build a team, and we'll just kind of give you guys an example. So I've already kind of thrown some stuff in. I'll just build from here. So we have these two. We'll throw you in there, and we're just building a full regeneration team, you can also look at other tags and get certain things. So now I'm going to apply some Zenkai abilities. I don't know if this Piccolo is the best. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to put this Piccolo here, but this King Piccolo also will be able to Zenkai buff my Kid Buu, right? They're both giving Kid Buu the yellow regeneration based one, so he's getting 40%, 35 and some. The thing about this is to remember how I talked about giving Kid Buu blast based equips. It's not really bad to have all stats represented in Z abilities, but if your team really excels with doing strike based attacks, you should really focus on that, right? You should really focus on strike base and just kind of min-max that. It's not bad to go and spread it out, but you should really, if you want to do the most damage, you want to do the best, you should focus on min-maxing your team and building your team with all characters that are able to fit that niche. You don't want to have too much blending, right? My team on the top row has some blending because they're different attributes, they do different things. One of them is support, there's 2 defenses. It just kind of just depends what you're doing. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove him, but yeah, this is where we're kind of adding in other stuff. I am not planning on using anybody but the top 3, and we're just going to go from there. I'm going to give one as well to Zamasu. That should do Zamasu, and I will wrap things up by actually just so we can kind of go kind of quickly here. I will add back in King Piccolo. And so let's see what we got here. We have all the buffs from Kid Buu. We have Super Buu's Z ability, Zamasu, King Piccolo, and then Super Buu. Now, this isn't, for the record, this team, like the Z abilities as they are currently constructed, is counter to what I was saying, for the record. It's more heavy blast based. You really don't want to do that. Like I said, you don't really want to do that. We can shift it, get a little bit more blending in there the right way. Like Lord Slug, yeah, double attack I'm cool with, just so we don't really confuse anybody. Lord Slug should offer his here. Yeah, so we're a little more blended that way. And we're only going to use those top 3. Now, here's the deal. If you don't want to run top 3, you don't want to only have 3 characters, you want to have more options, here's what you can do. So I actually like to do this a decent bit where I have 5 characters, one of every element that I can turn to in a certain situation. And a lot of you guys are probably like me, where you want to have 5 characters that you can turn to in a certain situation that can match a certain color. All good characters that you could use, whatever the case is. And this is what I'm choosing for this group. And for the last slot, that's up to you. I personally, for the record, in terms of value of Z abilities, I would actually push that to get health. Health is very good. She offers health as a stat increase for Z ability. So don't overlook health, by the way. Don't worry only about attack or defense. You could just put that there. Anyway, so this is 5 characters I would use, right? Or I'd be able to use if I needed to in a pinch. You don't have to only have 3. All right, so I've talked to you guys about basically everything. Let's talk about color-based teams. All right, so there are characters, like I mentioned earlier, that offer exclusive stuff to certain colors. For example, we're going to go ahead and scroll down here, and we will go ahead and pull some yellow character abilities. We have you, and there are some more in here, but just look at Broly really quick. That Broly offers his stuff to yellow or blue only. No tags, just yellow or blue, strike, attack, and defense. Now, this team, I'm just going to throw it in here, so bear with me. It isn't going to be the most cohesive. This is not going to be the craziest team or anything like that. I'm just going to click characters. Theoretically, this is an all-yellow team. If I were smarter about this, I would have chosen some Zenkai abilities, some better characters, and all that stuff, but the video is getting kind of long, and I'm not worried about that. So bear with me. Full yellow team. This type of team will have an innate weakness. A red character. A red character would come into the match and make it very difficult to win, especially if the linchpin of your team, and in this case it's Kid Buu, is a character that does not have the ability to ignore type disadvantage for a certain amount of time, which Kid Buu does not. But again, I mentioned earlier, some characters just do so much damage that they can offset that, or they do so many things. Kid Buu is in that end of the spectrum. So that's kind of what you would look for, and you would be at a huge disadvantage, but obviously you'd pretty much make it to where they never bring a purple against you. So what can you do? You can remove one of these characters and throw in a blue character that also has some synergies with Z abilities or whatever, and they can enter with you. So you can have 2 yellows and a blue. So in that case, if you're matched with the wrong situation, you can counter that. Now, if we were to build a full blue team, because I brought the tag character in, this character is 2 characters in one. it's Goku or Vegeta. So they have the effect to where they can flip their element whenever they switch. So as you play, you can switch to Goku or Vegeta, and they have reverse element factor when they do that. So Goku is the starting point, and these are all the tags currently. Goku is the starting point, and he is weak to greens as a normal blue would be. But if you look at the chart, Vegeta, when I flip to him, he reverses it. So instead of being strong against blue, or excuse me, strong against red as a blue character, he becomes weak to red and strong against green. Yeah, they go the opposite way when you flip sides, or you can flip sides a lot. So obviously there's a lot of utility with that, but most importantly, you know how I mentioned that a blue team like this, or in the previous case it was Kid Buu, but this team would be really susceptible to green characters. Now, this team in and of itself, with characters like Beast Gohan, they can offset that by having a character that can go type neutral, like I mentioned a lot of times. That is a very big deal. If you build a team only one color, you need to have really strong high-end characters that are able to go with type neutrality and ignore the unfavorable elements. That is what I'm talking about here. Nullify unfavorable element factors, meaning that if you were versus a green, you will at least do neutral versus them. As it would basically act as if you were like a red versus a green, right? Or a yellow versus a green. It would just be that type of interaction type deal instead of being a blue and being weak, right? Anyway, so this team, though, just ignore the other characters. We have a full blue team. You can build it and make it work this way because you can actually flip into Vegeta and do extra damage versus green, so you don't really have that same innate weakness that the Kid Buu team had without having a reverse element factor capability or a tag character. So moving on from here, again, same deal though. You could throw a purple character in here to help with that, but these aren't very common teams. I don't really recommend running those types of teams. I do recommend sticking to more of the basic stuff that most people are going to run, which is just going to be shoving their best characters on a team and finding Z abilities that meet the criteria that they need and building the team that way. So overall, though, I think that there's a lot of depth to when it comes to building teams in this game, but I don't want to get it confused. You need to build what's best for you at any given moment. That may change if you are running into difficulties in PvP. Maybe you need to enhance your PvP, or excuse me, well, yeah, that too. Maybe you can get better, right? Get better. You need to enhance your equipment, or you need to change your team, or you can just do other things. Also in PvP, there are going to be sometimes boost systems specifically where they are going to be offering stat increases to characters of certain tiers. When a new character comes out, they're added to featured, and this, I believe, is a 20% increase in stats. Here it is. Yeah, featured boost is 20% increase in damage and defenses. This is something you can also consider if you care about PvP, but a lot of the stronger characters are just going to be in tier C. They're not going to be getting anything. So, yeah, threw a lot at you guys. We talked about general team construction. We explained a lot of stuff like the leader slot, the equips, the way that they work, Z abilities, Ultra abilities, Zenkai abilities. We talked about color synergy. We talked about having some support characters or disruption characters. We talked about monocolor teams, color counter teams, tag-based teams, and the general team. So we had a lot of information in this video, and I hope that we didn't miss anything. But I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, remember to hit the thumbs up and that subscribe button, and stay tuned for more content.